Yeah, whatever that we will be speaking or exploring rather is based on facts. It's not imagination or some fantastic theory, but facts as available on record by the persons who were actual witness to those events. And anyway, biography is a factual record of the events in the life of that person. And so, howsoever fantastic these things may sound, but there is a factual angle to it. And if that is a fact, then what will be our response to that? Right? So, we have said that Krishnamurti's story begins much before his birth and continues long after his death. But we are going to go into it not exactly when it began, but we are going into it, say, early 1970s. There is a reason for that, as we explore, you will know. In 1970s, whenever Krishnamurti came to India and visited Delhi, he used to stay with Shiva Rao. Shiva Rao was Krishnamurti's tutor in the early days when Krishnamurti was discovered and was being groomed for the vehicle of world teacher. That time Shiva Rao was one of the tutors of Krishnamurti. And Shiva Rao later on settled in Delhi, and Krishnaji used to stay with him whenever he used to be in Delhi. Shiva Rao had married an English lady. Her name was Kitty Shiva Rao, she used to be called as. And that practice continued until Shiva Rao's house was no longer available. Then Krishnamurti started staying with Pupul Jaikar whenever he used to be in Delhi. Now, one day at the breakfast table, Krishnamurti asked Shiva Rao how well he knew C.W. Leadbeater. Now, C.W. Leadbeater was an eminent theosophist who actually discovered Krishnamurti. And Krishnamurti was asking Shiva Rao how well he knew C.W. Leadbeater. And since Shiva Rao had worked with C.W.L. for many years, so he said he knew him very well and he had worked very closely with C.W. Leadbeater. Then Krishnamurti's next question was even more interesting. He asked Shiva Rao, can you give one example which can conclusively prove that C.W.L. was clairvoyant? So this question was quite puzzling to Shiva Rao, that why Krishnaji wanted such proof that C.W.L. was really clairvoyant. Since Shiva Rao had worked with C.W.L. when C.W.L. was investigating past lives of Krishnamurti. In fact, when Krishnamurti was discovered and was taken charge of by Annie Besant, she adopted Krishnamurti. So, for all practical purposes, even legally, she was Krishnamurti's mother because she had adopted him as her child. And then he was kept with C.W.L. for training, for preparing him for the role of the world teacher. So at that time, C.W.L. investigated past lives of Krishnamurti. And in those lives, he used to investigate and they used to be published. And a series, under the series titled as Rents in the Wheel of Time. That was the name of that series. So, in that series, they were publishing these accounts of Krishnamurti's past lives. And last 48 lives they had investigated. In each life, Krishnamurti's name was different. His actual name in that life was different. So, there were then 48 different names of Krishnamurti. And in writing the account, all the time mentioning these 48 different names would be very cumbersome for the reader to follow the sequence and the flow of the life and all this thing. So, what was done was, he was given a nickname which was Alkyone. So, Alkyone was the nickname given to Krishnamurti throughout those 48 lives. So, whenever the name Alkyone would come, which means that it refers to Krishnamurti in that life. So, the reader does not have to deal with 48 different names, but he has to deal with only one name throughout all the 48 lives. And similarly, other personalities who say were figured in those lives, they were also given nicknames, because otherwise they would also have 48 different names in 48 different lives. And so, then a list was published of those nicknames, that this is the nickname and the person corresponding to that nickname is this person. And then everybody was eager to find out whether he was in that list. Anyway, that is a different matter. So, Shiva Rao had worked with CWL in the investigation of those past lives. And according to him, in each life, there used to be something like 250 characters, and they will be appearing in different relationships with Alkyone. And a genealogical chart will be prepared, in which the exact position of each of those 250 characters will be mentioned. Now, there was a logical possibility that there could be some error, because actually in genealogical chart, if you are a cousin of so and so, then you have to be so and so of some other. That means all the relationships should exactly match. There should not be any mismatch. And Shiva Rao's work was to look for such mismatches. So, when the genealogical chart is dictated by CWL, Shiva Rao will go through that chart and he will say that if so and so is related in this way to this person, then his relation to that person should be this kind of thing. So, like that he will try to tally all that, and wherever he would find discrepancy, he will make a note of that. And when he will have a lot of such discrepancies collected, then he would request CWL for a meeting, and then he will point out all the discrepancies. And whenever the discrepancy is pointed out, CWL will just close his eyes and think for a moment, and he will say, okay, now that name where it is now, you remove it from there and put it in that other place. And like that he will make changes, and then everything will fit perfectly without any discrepancy. Now, according to Shiva Rao, this cannot be a fabrication of anybody's brain. He felt that no brain has the capacity to fabricate things in such details that 250 characters in 48 different lives and mentioning their exact relationships with each other. He said that is not an ordinary. So, it is possible only through clairvoyance. But that example did not satisfy Krishnamurti. He said, no, but that does not conclusively prove that CWL was clairvoyant. He wanted a better example. Then Shiva Rao again went back into time in his memory, and he started looking for an example, and then he came upon one. And he said that whenever he used to work with CWL in his office, there was a table for Shiva Rao to work, there was a table for CWL also, and then there was a bed which was kept there whenever CWL wanted to lie down, he would lie down on that bed and so on. So Shiva Rao then says that one day he was working in the office with CWL, and suddenly CWL said to Shiva Rao that there is urgency and he is required and he has to go immediately, and he asked Shiva Rao that you continue to work and just see to it that there is no loud noise near this office, and he would go and Shiva Rao should continue working normally. So after saying that, CWL straight away went to the bed and slept. So for anybody seeing that, he will see that yes, CWL is fast asleep and Shiva Rao is working. So after about 4 to 5 hours, CWL woke up, and after waking up, he said to Shiva Rao, "Good that I could go. There was a big shipwreck and I could help a lot of people." That's all that he said. And Shiva Rao, of course, they were not allowed to ask further questions, so whatever information is given, that was the only information. But then his mind started working. He said that if there was such a big shipwreck, there should be a news of that shipwreck somewhere. So the next day there was no news. And third day there was a big news of the sinking of Titanic. Titanic had sunk, and when he tallied the timings of the sinking of Titanic and the timing when CWL was asleep in his office, they exactly matched. They tallied. So which means that CWL had gone to that location in order to help those people who were getting drowned. So he said to Krishnaji that this is the example which conclusively proves that he was clairvoyant. So Krishnaji accepted that, well, this can be a proof of his clairvoyance, but I want a much better example than even this. Now to that, Shiva Rao said that then the only other example I can think of is your own example. When you were discovered by CWL, outwardly there was no sign of any extraordinariness in you. You were looking worse than a normal child. So nobody would think that this child would be a world teacher. And your brother Nitya looked much brighter and much better. But still, CWL did not choose Nitya, but he selected you only. So which means that he saw something in you which was not visible to anybody else. And that is possible only if he is clairvoyant. So Krishnamurti jumped at this example and he immediately accepted that example. He said, yes, that conclusively proves that he was clairvoyant, really clairvoyant. And then he said that then you are the right person to write the story of that boy Krishnamurti as to how this teaching unfolded through that boy Krishnamurti. And so then he entrusted Shiva Rao the work of writing his biography. And Shiva Rao started collecting all the material and everything, but later on his eyesight failed him. He could not see properly. And so finally the work was then given to Mary Latens. Because after Shiva Rao, Mary Latens was the person who had been in longest contact with Krishnamurti. Shiva Rao was the first person, he was in longest contact with Krishnamurti. After him, Mary Latens was the person who had been in contact with Krishnamurti for the longest time. So she was interested in that work and this whole thing started. So that is the background of this biography. And the unfolding of the teaching is the central, you can say the core, the central point of Krishnamurti's biography. That means Krishnamurti's life is not different, or his life story is not different than the story of the unfolding of this teaching. And so the teaching is the important thing, most important thing, which unfolded through him. And so now we are going to look into the story of that teaching. What is this teaching, why is it required, and so on. Now, even in tradition and even in theosophy, there is a belief that whenever the humanity is at a critical moment of its evolution, it needs a different direction, a direction which is completely different than whatever the humanity has been following, and that different direction should enable the humanity to live or to change as per the further evolution of humanity. And so it was said that in this 20th century was that critical time or critical point of time when humanity needed a new direction. And who will give this new direction? Now, somebody from human beings cannot give the new direction. So, there are beings who have lived through human life, but who have gone beyond that. We call them as liberated beings and things like that. And there is another term which is called as Jivan Muktas. So, Jivan Muktas are the persons who have lived through human life and have unfolded themselves completely, and therefore they are no longer required to take birth as a human being any longer. So that is why they are called as the Jivan Muktas. They are real Muktas who are not required to take birth in a human body. But still, when this Jivan Mukta takes birth in a human body, it is for some definite purpose, for some definite work. And a Jivan Mukta taking birth in a human body is what is called as the Avtara. And Avtara has a definite function to do. So it takes birth in a human body, does that function, and then leaves the body. So many times you will find that some of these persons, their lives are quite short. So lives are short not because of their unhealthy habits of living, but lives are short because that was the only work they were supposed to do, and as soon as that is done, they have no reason to continue further in that body, because the life beyond the body is far more free, far more vivid, far more significant than life in the body. Life in the body is very limited, having all the limitations of the body. And so naturally nobody would like to continue in that limited life unnecessarily longer. And then among these Jivan Muktas, they say there is what is called as the world teacher. Now it is the function of the world teacher to give this new direction to humanity whenever required. And in traditional terms, they say that the education and religion, these are the two aspects in human life which are governed by the world teacher. And so when the humanity was needing a different turn in this 20th century, which means that the world teacher was supposed to take birth and give this new turn. Now, when a being as high as the world teacher has to manifest in a human body, there are various options available. Either he takes directly birth into a suitable family and he's born into the body of a child, and then he grows, and then he is completely looking after the body and molding it as per his requirement and so on. But in that case, he has to deal with that body of the child right from childhood, and which is quite a work. And so many times they don't want to undertake that work. So instead of that, many times what is done is that one of their close disciples, he takes birth, he looks after the body through its childhood, and then at a particular point when the body is ready to be occupied by the world teacher, then he leaves the body and the world teacher takes over. That is another option. But in case of Krishnamurti, none of these options were followed. Something totally different was done, and that's why they say that in the human history, the kind of experiment that was done through Krishnamurti was very unique, and that did not need the world teacher to occupy his body. So, what was required was, first the body had to be prepared. What actually was done was that Krishnamurti's consciousness was raised to the level where the world teacher consciousness it resides normally. So, what actually is that the consciousness of the world teacher is at very high level, nobody can reach it. But what is the lowest point up to which the consciousness of the world teacher can descend? So, in theosophical terminology, the lowest level of the world teacher's consciousness is the Buddhic level. It cannot descend lower than Buddhic plane. It descends only up to Buddhic plane, the world teacher's consciousness. And so in this case what happened was, Krishnamurti raised his consciousness to the level of Buddhic plane, where he could meet the world teacher's consciousness. And when his consciousness got blended with the consciousness of the world teacher, then a direct channel was formed between the world teacher's consciousness and Krishnamurti's even physical consciousness. So the teaching could come through it, and therefore there was no need for the world teacher to occupy his physical body, but because the consciousness was blended, the teaching could directly come to Krishnamurti's brain. So this was the experiment that was done, and then the teaching cannot come to any brain. The brain had to be prepared for that. It has to have that kind of sensitivity. It has to have, all the brain cell had to be mutated. So that is where that process then comes into picture, and through the process Krishnamurti's brain was prepared, and then when it was fully ready for the world teacher, then it was taken over, and probably in 1929 the world teacher started his function through Krishnamurti's body and went on till his death in 1986. So when Krishnamurti was discovered on Adair beach, what was that CWL saw in Krishnamurti which he felt was very extraordinary? So what CWL saw was that he saw Krishnamurti's aura, and in that aura he saw that there was not even a speck of selfishness. The aura was absolutely pure, not even a speck of selfishness. And he had not seen such pure aura of any human beings he had come in contact with. And therefore, if this child is having such an extraordinary aura, that means he must be an extraordinary child. And so he was interested in further investigating the matter. And when he investigated, he found that the world teacher was going to manifest through that body and give a new teaching to humanity. And so he immediately shared this finding with Annie Besant. She was also clairvoyant, and she confirmed that yes, this is so, this is right. And then their masters also confirmed that yes, he is the boy through whom the world teacher is going to. And then they started receiving directly instructions from the masters how to prepare that body and so on. Now, with Krishnamurti, he went through several initiations. The initiations is not only the preparation of the physical body, but each initiation is actually the preparation of the next subtle body. So, to prepare him for the first initiation, he used to be taken by CWL to master cage in his astral body. So, Krishnamurti and CWL in their astral bodies, they will go to master cage. Their master cage will give instructions to Krishnaji as to what he is supposed to do and what way he has to behave, and some rules, regulations, whatever it was. So, all that teaching was given to Krishnamurti. And then next day morning, when Krishnamurti would wake up, from the memory he would write down all those instructions given by master to him. And based on those instructions, a book was published. And through that book, Krishnamurti was introduced to the world as the vehicle of the world teacher. And that book is the book titled as At the Feet of the Master. So, we will be going or talking about that book tomorrow. But At the Feet of the Master is a book which contains teachings or instructions to prepare any human being for the first initiation. And first initiation is given in the astral body only. And therefore, to receive that first initiation, that candidate's astral body should be fully developed. Otherwise, he can't be initiated. He can't simply attend the function of initiation, because he is supposed to attend it in his astral body, which means that his astral body should be completely developed. He should be in full control of the body. He should be able to use it, travel through it, and all those things. And the teaching or the instructions given in that book At the Feet of the Master, if one is able to live his life as per those, then that helps develop his astral body. And then when he is ready, then he is ready for the first initiation. And in Krishnaji's case, after first initiation, the next initiation is given on the mental plane. So, mental plane is the next world, next to astral world. And for that, his mental body has to be fully developed, because otherwise he can't attend the initiation ceremony. He has to attend that ceremony in his mental body. So, the mental body has to be developed, and then he will be eligible for the second, and so on. So, in Krishnamurti's case, he completed 4 initiations in this life itself. Usually, we find that a person does 1 initiation or at the most 2 initiations in a lifetime, but Krishnamurti did all the 4 initiations in the same life. and the fourth initiation, which was the initiation of the Arhat. So that he did in 1924, towards the end of that, beginning of 1925. So that is about his initiations. And then grooming him for the role of the world teacher. Now, world teacher is not an ordinary entity, and the world teacher manifesting in a human body is a very, very rare phenomenon. Happens once in thousands of years. So the last time such phenomenon had happened was when Lord Buddha, he took birth. So that was 2500 years ago. So after Lord Buddha, the next such event is the event of Krishnamurti. So which is taking place 2500 years after Buddha. So which means that you can imagine how rare this event is. And the consciousness of the world teacher just cannot manifest through any human body. In fact, they say that no human body is capable of expressing the world teacher's consciousness. Maybe that is why his consciousness doesn't descend beyond the Buddhic plane, because simply the suitable bodies are not available to descend further. And therefore, if it had to descend to Krishnamurti's body, then the body had to be prepared. And the preparation of the body was the task given or entrusted to CWL. And there were clear instructions from the world teacher himself that groom the body of the boy, make it very healthy, teach him English, because English was the language in which the world teacher was going to talk or give the teachings. And he said, but leave the mind of Krishnamurti alone. Don't try to educate it or condition it along any particular line. So instruction was not even to teach theosophy to him, not to condition his mind along any particular line of teaching or any particular line of philosophy or any particular line of thinking. They said, leave his mind alone, world teacher will take care of his mind. But prepare his body, make it very healthy. See to it that the body doesn't cause any hindrances in the work of the world teacher. Right? And so his body was groomed. So body should have healthy habits, and if it was found that there were certain habits which were not healthy, then immediately the work used to begin on that habit. And it would be seen that that habit is no longer there, it is finished. Now say even ordinary things like eating habits. Now the body has to eat only the food which is required for its health, and it should only consume healthy food. But you will find that we have, as per our likes and dislikes, we many times consume a food which is not very healthy, which is not very suitable for the body. And then the body suffers due to some illness or some stomach upsets and this and that. Right? Now that possibility they wanted to rule out completely. Because when the world teacher wants to use the body and the body is in illness due to wrong eating and all this thing, I mean, that sounds very ridiculous. And so they had to just work out all the likes and dislikes as far as the eating was concerned. So how was that done? Like say when Krishnamurti is eating, and if he seems to like certain preparation, right? He will say, oh, this is wonderful, I like it very much. Then every day he will be served the same preparation till a point of time when he says that he no longer likes it. So that habit is broken. And like that, they did with all his this thing. So that means they saw to it that as in his eating habits, there was no place for likes and dislikes. So that he will eat only that which is suitable for the body and which will keep the body healthy. And like that, many different things they were done so that his body was made perfect. Like say he was asked to wear some particular kinds of shoes, which was quite a painful thing to wear that kind of shoes, because there was some crookedness in his toes, and naturally there was a thinking that how can the world teacher have crooked toes? They should be also beautiful. So in order to modify them, he was asked to wear certain kinds of shoes. The wearing shoes was not that pleasant, not that comfortable, but nonetheless he had to wear them, and then his toes, they were straightened up, became very beautiful. And like that, so many different kinds of things they happened, and his body was being prepared. The final preparation began in 1922, but about that we won't be talking in this talk. We have another session at Naimisham when we will be talking about that mystical process in which all this thing was done. But now here we have talked about Avtara, we have talked about the world teacher, we have talked about the lies of Alkyone, we have talked about Krishnamurti's initiations. Now from that book Lies of Alkyone, some interesting things I would like to point out, and then I will open the sessions for questions from you. Now in that Lies of Alkyone book, Krishnaji was born at the time of Lord Buddha. When Buddha was moving in the plains of northern India and giving his teaching, that time Krishnamurti was born into a Brahmin family. And in that family he had a brother, younger brother, and the family used to look after some temple. So they were priests of that temple. And in those days there was a practice that, because temples were not that common and there were many priests, so those priests used to share the income of that temple. And the sharing was done in this way that the whole year used to be divided into equal parts, and then each priest will be assigned that okay, during this period you be the priest of this temple, and whatever income the temple receives during that time period is all yours. And like that they used to share the income of the temple, and Krishnamurti's father was one such priest who used to share the income of that temple. And then of course there were many things used to take place. I mean, then there would be agents who will be on lookout for well-to-do pilgrims, and then they will manipulate their visits or their program in such a way that they will arrive at that temple during that particular period of time which belonged to that particular priest. And like that they used to manipulate and all these things and try to maximize their income and so on. And there Krishnaji's younger brother was bright and quite talented, and he used to feel that he can manage the temple much better than Krishnamurti. But according to tradition, the elder son would be a successor of his father and so on. And in that there was quite a rivalry and all this thing, and in that the younger brother's wife, she poisoned Krishnamurti's son and he died. And that created such a shock. He was in deep grief. He just didn't know how to manage all that. And that is the time when he went to Lord Buddha. Probably somebody took him to Lord Buddha's discourse and he heard the discourse and all these things. And just being in the presence of Buddha, all his grief, all his sorrow was simply wiped out. And he wanted to be associated with Lord Buddha. He wanted to become a Buddhist monk. And Buddha, of course, when he told Buddha he wanted to join the Sangha, because in Buddhism there is the Buddham Saranam, Sangham Saranam, Dhammam Saranam. So the Sangha of Buddha he wanted to join, and before that then Buddha had to confirm whether he really wants to join or it is just a impulsive feeling or decision. So he asked him questions that, you see, you'll have to give up everything, then whatever grudges you have against anybody, you have to clear that off, and you should really come completely empty-handed. That means not carrying any of your grief or that psychological burden. When you become part of Sangha, that means you are fully with the Sangha and not carrying anything from the past with you. And so therefore he asked whether you are finished with your priesthood in that temple, whether you will forgive your brother who had done this kind of thing to you, and so on. And to all that he answered affirmatively, and then he was accepted as and he gave all his rights, properties, everything to his younger brother and forgave them. And they were very much surprised. They thought that maybe he would take revenge on all this thing. But when they saw this kind of behavior, they were completely surprised. And they fell at his feet and all those things. Anyway. And then Buddha had asked Krishnaji that what you would like to do. Then that time Krishnaji said that I would also like to guide people as you are doing now. So to that Buddha said, yes, that will happen, but not now, long time afterwards. But that will happen, and what Buddha said was that a pledge taken before Buddha will never go waste. It will happen. So this was, say, 2500 years ago, and exactly after that time we can see that pledge happening as Krishnamurti going all over the world preaching to humanity almost the same way as Buddha preached. So that was one incident. And in that Sangha of Buddha, there was another monk whose name was Dharmajyoti. So he became very close to Alkyone. And they became great friends, and that Dharmajyoti used to always help in all possible ways whenever required. And he saw to it that Alkyone was comfortable with Sangha and all these things. Now, after this, the next birth of Krishnamurti happened at the time of Harshvardhan, and he was born in a family in the city of Kanauj. And Kanauj at that time was called as Kanyakubja. That was the name of the city in those days, in the days of Harshvardhan. But now the modern name is the Kanauj. So there he was born, and that time Buddhism was a highly respected religion in India. And in fact, if anybody from any family becomes a Buddhist monk, then that family's status in the society will go up. Then the family will be highly respected in the society. And so, when Krishnamurti wanted to become a Buddhist monk, all his family members were very much excited. They said yes, because then their status would have gone up. And he became a Buddhist monk in that. And he worked in a monastery in that same city. And at that time, there was another Buddhist monk whose name was Arya Sangha. So Arya Sangha was traveling right from the southernmost end of India up to the northernmost end, reviving Buddhism. So probably he started his journey from Sri Lanka, and then from southern India he started traveling. And when he came to city of Kanauj, so that is where Krishnamurti, or the Alkyoni rather, met him. And then Alkyoni took immediate liking for Arya Sangha, and he wanted to accompany him in his travel. And he asked the permission from the chief abbot of that monastery at Kanauj. The abbot readily agreed, and so Alkyoni travelled with Arya Sangha. He went up to Sikkim, and there was a Buddhist monastery at Sikkim at that time, and so that monastery was in quite a dilapidated condition. So that was revived by Arya Sangha, and then he asked Alkyoni to look after that monastery, and he went further north into Tibet. Now, while in that monastery, Krishnaji had the Alkyoni prepared a set of instructions to be followed by a Buddhist monk as their sadhana, or as they proceed with their spiritual path. And that book was referred to as the Book of Golden Precepts. And later on, the script of that book was discovered by Madame Blavatsky, and then it was published as the booklet Voice of the Silence. So the origin of Voice of the Silence is there at that time, during Harshvardhan's time, and in a way Krishnamurti or the Alkyoni is also connected with that. The most interesting thing is that Arya Sangha was the same person who was Dharma Jyoti at the time of Buddha, and who was Alkyoni's friend in that life. So the same Dharma Jyoti, now born as Arya Sangha, again came in contact with Alkyoni, and Alkyoni benefited immensely by being with him. And so naturally the question was, a being who has been with Krishnamurti at the time of Buddha, later on also, and now in this life of Krishnamurti, in what way that being came, or in what way was he in contact with Krishnamurti in this life? Whether he came in contact with Krishnamurti, played any role in his life, or that was only confined to those two lives only. And this was a very interesting question, and it doesn't find any mention in any of the biographies or memoirs of Krishnamurti. This point hasn't come to anybody's notice, because I think probably they discard all of them, that Lives of Alkyoni book and all that. I think nobody shows much interest, but anybody who has studied that, this question will naturally arise, that the same person who was with him in his previous two lives. So in this life also he should be there in some way or other. So when I asked this question to Radha Barnier, she gave a very interesting or very startling answer to this. Now in Krishnamurti's biography, that process, that mysterious process which we talk about, that process was supervised by one of the masters. So I asked Radhaji that who was that master. So she said he was Master Jwalkul. Now Master Jwalkul is the same person as Dharmajyoti, same person as Arya Sangha. And he supervised that process. That means in this life also he was very much there with Krishnamurti to help him. And he supervised that process, saw to it that it is correctly carried out, and then whatever objective is to be achieved is achieved. So this is what I wanted to talk about that book, Lies of Alkyone. And now you can ask questions, whatever question you want to ask. Yes. Lies of Alkyone. It is available on the net. There is anandagholap.net, that website is there, which contains most of the theosophy books particularly written by CWL and Annie Besant, and of course many other books. And you can simply download them and read. Yeah, the name of that book is Lives of Alkyone. It's in 2 volumes. So you can just download it and read. Yeah. In fact, there are interesting thing is that there are pictures of Alkyone of some of the past lives, how he looked, because sometimes he was born as a lady, sometimes he was born as a man, sometimes as a woman, and you can see those pictures also. Pardon? Yeah, physical book was there. It was published in 1924-25. Around that time, Lies of Alkyone was published. But unfortunately, what happened was that the quality of paper that was used for printing that book was so poor that within few years it started disintegrating and the pages started breaking. When you want to turn the page, so you try to lift, it will break. And so the book could not become available, and after that it was never reprinted. And so, but fortunately the soft copy is available on the net, fully available. So you can simply download and read it, and if you are interested you can take a printout and bind it and keep as a hard copy. Yes, that's right. So, yeah, that's right. Yes. Now, whatever we have said is as the account of what actually happened, right? Now, out of this, what is it that we get which can help us live our life in a right way, right? Now, that we will cover in tomorrow's talk, because that is the book At the Feet of the Master. At the Feet of the Master contains clear-cut instructions in terms of do's and don'ts, right? And if you are able to live your life as per that, then you are ready for the first initiation. Yeah. What is the? No, I didn't get your question. What is the need for the new teachings? Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. No, you see, if we ask a question, what is a human being? Then one can say, based on what Krishnamurti has talked about and what Theosophy also talks about, that a human being is a complete unit having infinite potential. In fact, they call human being as the microcosm, and the universe at large is the macrocosm. So whatever is at the macrocosmic level, all that is at the microcosmic level also. So which means that a human being has infinite potential, and all that potential has to be drawn out. So when a human being interacts with the environment, with the surrounding, through that interaction, that potential is unfolding. So there are different stages of human life, and at different stages the different aspects of that potential they unfold, and according to that the body also undergoes modification, changes, and so on. So you can see that the body and the consciousness expressing through that body, both of them they unfold side by side, in the sense that when the consciousness has unfolded, it has to have a correspondingly suitable body to express itself. Otherwise, there will be bodily limitation, and even though the consciousness has unfolded much further, it cannot express itself up to that unfoldment. There will be limitation of the body. So body has to also develop, unfold, and change. And so therefore, there is a biological evolution. So biological evolution enables the body to express that unfolding consciousness, and this goes on hand in hand. And so at different stages of unfoldment, right, some different kind of turn is required, which probably the human being himself is not able to take that turn, or it doesn't even isn't even aware of what kind of turn it has to take, or it is not even aware that it has to take a turn. So for all that, a entity like the being like the world teacher, or some avatar, some Jivan Mukta has to come and give that turn, and then the humanity will move in that. Now in the present context, the humanity is at such a critical point that unless the humanity takes a right turn, it faces extinction, it faces annihilation. Now the first point is, the human beings are psychologically primitive because they show the same psychological reactions: fear, anger, violence, hatred, jealousy, insecurity. I mean, you can just go on listing. That is the psychological content of a modern man. And psychological content is what decides the action of that human being. How a human being will behave, in what way he will act, is decided by his psychological content, which is very obvious. I mean, a person is angry, so that anger will decide the action of that person. So if a person is angry, the anger will make him say nasty words to the person who has made him angry, or that anger will make him do some violent act. Maybe he will slap the other person, right? If he is feeling jealous, then his jealousy will decide in what way he will act. So you can see all these things happening in your life. If I feel jealous about certain person, then how do I behave? with respect to that person. That behavior will be different. It will be guided by the jealousy, right? So, which means that the mentality of human beings is very primitive, not developed at all. But technologically, he has developed too much. He has most sophisticated instruments in his hands. He has most sophisticated weapons. He has weapons of mass destruction with him. And all this is handled by a very, very primitive mentality. So, a person in the fit of anger, if he has an access to a weapon of mass destruction, that anger will make him use it. And so, he can kill millions of people. Say a person happens to be the head of some nation, happens to be a president or prime minister, and he gets angry with some other nation, right? Then he can simply destroy that nation using those weapons of mass destruction. So, which means that human beings have to change their mentality. Human beings have to change themselves psychologically. They can't afford to remain primitive any longer. Otherwise, they are going to destroy themselves. Right? So, this is a critical moment. So, in what way a human being can change himself psychologically? That is what Krishnamurti is telling. That is what his teaching is. So, that is one challenge. Another challenge is the challenge posed by artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence means it is going to take over all the function of your brain. Whatever your brain is capable of doing, all that the artificial intelligence will be doing. And when artificial intelligence has taken all your work, what will your brain do? If you observe your own life and if you ask a question that when I have nothing particular to do, what do I engage myself with? And you will find that you engage yourself with entertainment, all kinds of entertainment. Entertainment through social groups, social media, YouTube. I mean, there are innumerable options in which way you can entertain yourself. And a brain which is completely merged into entertainment will deteriorate, because you are not using the brain. In entertainment, the brain is not being used. Brain is used only to experience more and more sensation, more and more feelings, but brain is not used actually to carry out any work, to work towards understanding something. When you try to understand something, then actually the brain is working. But if you are merely passively experiencing the sensations, the pleasures, all these things, then the brain is not working. And when brain doesn't work, it is going to lose its capabilities, it is going to lose its potential. And so there is a very famous rule of the evolution, that either you use it or you lose it. Right? If you don't use, you lose. And the artificial intelligence will not let the human brain function. So the human beings will not be using their brain. Everything they will be leaving to artificial intelligence. Then they start losing all the capabilities, and so slowly the brain will deteriorate and disappear. So the human race is gone. Wait. We are not going to discuss artificial intelligence. What I am saying is this, that there is a possibility. There is a possibility of this happening. We are not saying that this will happen, but there is a real possibility, right? And we have to find out in what way we can eliminate this possibility, right? And that is why now if you say that whatever human thought can do can be done by artificial intelligence, right? If that is so, then you have to ask, is there anything in human life which doesn't belong to thought or field of thought, but which is beyond thought. Now, if you are able to find that dimension of human life, then you are safe. Then artificial intelligence cannot control you. But as long as you are living in the dimension of thought, and whatever thought can do, the artificial intelligence can do, then you are subject to control by artificial intelligence. But if you are able to move beyond thought, where the artificial intelligence cannot do anything, it is completely helpless, then it cannot control you. And so, is there something like beyond thought? If it is there, what way you can approach it, what way you can reach it or get it in your life? That is what Krishnamurti is pointing out through his teaching. Right? So, which means that at this critical moment, what is required to be done by humanity, that is being precisely pointed out by Krishnamurti. And if we are able to listen to him, understand, and then change, take steps, apply whatever he is saying in our life and change ourselves accordingly, then that's what it is. So, yes. Yeah.
There was recently I was discovering sort of a quote that was said by Krishnaji.
Yeah.
Is documented in Bharati's book.
Yeah.
Where he says that my teaching will not be over. If you engage with it, you will discover more.
My teachings will not be over.
Sort of, I mean, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, whatever it is. But
My teachings, you will not, haven't stopped here. When that is,
yeah.
My teaching haven't stopped here. If
Yeah.
you engage with it, you will discover more.
Yes, that's right.
He's supposed
Yeah.
to have said this to Bartley.
Yeah.
And Bartley writes about that.
Yeah.
I've been very intrigued by that statement in terms of.
Yeah. In fact, a similar statement, but in a different way, he has said that flowering of the teaching is your responsibility. It is not Krishnamurti's responsibility. Krishnamurti's responsibility is only to throw seeds. So he has thrown seeds. Now, whether those seeds will flower or whether they will have the fate of those seeds which happen to fall on the rock and therefore they don't germinate, or whether they have a fate where they fall in the ground, cared for, and then therefore they grow. Now, that responsibility lies with the listeners, with the human beings. So, Krishnamurti has done his work. Whether the humanity will do its work, which is the flowering of the teaching, which means that one has to really go into the teachings, inquire, apply it to one's life, see in what way it applies, what way it changes, and all those things. And if one is willing to do that, then yes, then one is doing what one is responsible for, that is the flowering of the teaching.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
you talked about astral,
Yes.
physical,
Yes.
all those things.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
4 years of inside. Now, this is already existing in the pattern service Europe till 400 BC. That he talks about all this. Paikari, Madhyama, Prana. And he also said about it's all connected to that. Breathe and your all the spiral energy which is flowing, which you can't see. He was tested. He never said that the secret doctrine of one to three and the fourth one was having an invisible. It's all that. It's all that.
Yes.
Secret
Yeah.
doctrine was
Yeah.
Theosophical.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Volumes.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah.
The team of people which
Yeah.
Now, why this, for example, the modern what you said about right now about the artificial, which is nothing but electrons transmitting kinetic energies and all that, all those things which is happening in the
Yes.
business.
Yes.
Why this is not spoken by him at any point of time? Is it people will get trapped? Krishna never spoke of this anywhere.
No, Krishna ji has spoken about artificial intelligence and its impact on human beings. He has spoken. There are talks I can mention to you. You can listen to those talks and you will understand what he has said about this. But others have not said this.
I'm asking about
Yeah.
astral, spatial energy,
Yes.
emotional,
Yes.
mental
Yes.
activities.
Yes.
It's nothing but all vibes, vibrations taking place.
No. But no.
We say
No.
that the whole humanity is connected. Not
Wait.
towards-
No. Wait. No. Now you are making so many statements. You are saying these astral, mental are just vibes.
Yeah, he never spoke
That is your opinion. That is your opinion, that astral and mental is just vibes. There are detailed studies done by people, for example, CWL. You read his book, Astral Plane, you read his book, Devchanik or Mental Plane, right? He has done a detailed study of these planes. And he has written all the information, what is it is and all those things, right? Now, that doesn't say that it is just vibes. Astral world is a world as real as the physical world, far more expanded than the physical. And there is a body corresponding to the astral world, which is the astral body.
measured through beta waves, alpha waves.
Wait. No. Sir, now you are talking like the other scientists who are
Yeah,
totally restricted to the physical.
yeah.
For them, physical is the only reality and there is no other reality. Right? Now, the thing is that if you want to experiment with astral plane, you have to have the instruments made up of astral matter. Now, you cannot use the instruments made of physical matter in order to study the phenomena in astral matter. So, you have to have the instruments made up of astral matter to investigate the phenomena in the astral world. Now, the scientists are not even aware of the astral matter. Why astral matter? Even the physical matter, there are 7 gradations of physical matter, out of which only about 4 to 5 the scientists are aware of. The subtlest levels of physical matter, even that the scientists are not aware of. And so, you can see how limited is the scientific knowledge. And on top of that, they have this belief or a prejudice that everything is physical based. They say that the brain is first and then through the brain the consciousness develops or emerges, right? But actually it could be exactly opposite. The consciousness first and then the brain is born, right? So there are all these discrepancies. So instead of taking sides this way or that way, we can say that yes, there are 2 sides to this, and there were people who have done a lot of study in these things, and only because we don't have the capability to verify the facts pointed out by those people, doesn't mean that we should simply discard everything and say that it's all hoax, I have nothing to do with it. Well, one can say that also, right? But then one has to find out then what one would like to do in his life. That means how one would live his life. What will be his guiding principles? Yes.
He tended to also sort of discourage many of these kinds of
Yes. He did.
just trying to reconcile that
Yeah.
with sort of explanation of this.
Yeah. No, he did that. But again, if you want to study only what Krishnamurti has said, right, that doesn't need the study of theosophy. You don't have to study theosophy, you don't have to talk about astral, mental, all these things. You can simply go into the teachings, apply it to your life, and when you develop that sensitivity, those energy levels, you yourself will find out what Theosophy has talked about. So you don't have to depend on the authority of those Theosophists or their findings, but following or by living Krishnamurti's teaching, you can make yourself capable so that you are able to investigate even these matters out of your own sensitivity, out of your own energy. Then you don't need anybody's proof or any such thing. So that is the beauty of the teaching. See, after all, the world teacher is world teacher, and the kind of teaching he would give, nobody else will be able to give that. So the kind of teaching he has given doesn't require any other thing to support it. It stands by itself. And if one is able to live those teachings, then other things will come. You don't have to worry about them. Yeah. Yes, sir. Go ahead. No, you see, awareness is just the beginning of the teaching. And with that awareness, the sensitivity has to deepen, the energy levels have to rise, right? And that awareness also should make you live your life rightly. Yeah, what I am saying is that you are saying that if Krishnaji is talking about awareness and one is being aware, so is that being aware just enough and will make his body capable to express those high consciousnesses? Is that what you are asking? No, okay. Then what are you asking? I couldn't get your question then. Pardon? Yeah, can you come closer? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, come closer and please ask, because I am not able to hear you properly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I couldn't get the question. Yeah, yeah. You say it in English. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
The awareness which is there,
yes.
which is witnessing, is calling it as sakshi,
Okay.
pure awareness, chaitanya. Is it that which is born as avatar through an individual?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you are asking, first of all, you are saying that there is that awareness at high level, which is witness to everything that is happening, and whether that awareness takes the body and chooses the body and is born and all those things, right? So, I think that is a very limited kind of explanation, because it assumes that there is such a thing as the awareness and which witnesses everything. Right? But probably we are not looking at it in that way. What we are saying is that a human being has infinite potential to unfold, right? And by way of living his life, the human beings are unfolding their potential. Now, if that is the case, and this is happening since the existence of human beings, and if it is happening over such a long period of time, it means that then there are human beings at different stages of unfoldment, right? Because different human beings must have unfolded at different levels, and some of them must have unfolded to the extent that they are now Jivan Muktas, or they are the world teachers, or they are even higher than that, right? So that means there are beings at all possible levels of unfoldment which are simultaneously existing. And so this whole existence is the play of all this. And we are aware of only the existence at the physical level. All the other levels we are not aware of. Maybe some of persons like CWL and others who had access to those other levels also, they were aware. But as far as we are concerned, apart from physical, we don't know anything else, right? But even at the physical level, if the beings from those higher worlds, they have to manifest because they have to carry out certain function. Like say in case of Krishnamurti, he had to give this new teaching which will enable human beings to face these challenges of modern age and go beyond them and really discover something which is not within the scope of this modern technology. So to give that kind of thing, Krishnamurti had to come into the physical body. I mean, the world teacher had to express himself through the physical body and give this new teaching. So that is how it works. Now you will say, who has decided? The world teacher has decided. Because these beings, they are not dumb beings, they are intelligent beings. Their intelligence is far surpassing than whatever little intelligence we have. It is no match to their intelligence. So with that intelligence, whenever it is perceived that there is such and such a requirement of such and such action, right, then immediately the steps or the things start happening so that that action happens and the task is fulfilled. So it is you can say it is such perfect harmony that in that harmony whatever is perceived as required, that is immediately done. Steps are taken. It's not that I will do it later, or it is postponed, or maybe somebody else will do it. No, nothing like that. An intelligent being, whenever he sees a necessity of a right action and he is capable of that right action, he will immediately do it. He will not say that why should I do it? Somebody similarly capable will do it. There is no such thing there. So who decides to take birth or to manifest? The intelligent being decides. Whosoever is able to see the need and he is capable of fulfilling that need, he will immediately take the action steps. He won't wait for anybody else. And world teacher's grasp is such that it is able to see the need of the whole of humanity, what is required. And therefore, the moment it is seen, the steps are taken. So in this case, you see how the CWL had to be trained in clairvoyance. Otherwise, he couldn't have discovered Krishnamurti, right? And who will train him? Only the capable persons like masters only can train him, which means that he has to come in contact with masters. So how will he come in contact with masters? Now the only organization that was available at that time was Theosophical Society. and Madame Blavatsky was the person who was in contact with masters. So which means that the CWL had to come in contact with Madame Blavatsky. Only then he would come in contact with masters. And so things happened in such a way that he came in contact with Madame Blavatsky. He became member of the Theosophical Society. Through her, he came in contact with masters. And then, after coming in contact with masters, then he was trained. He also had to go through these initiations, first, second, third, whatever it is. And he was trained in clairvoyance. And in fact, his training was so perfect that the mistakes were not possible. And it had to be that perfect. Otherwise, if he makes a mistake in discovering the boy who would be the world teacher, then that mistake is not acceptable. So it has to be completely error free, and so that's why. And in fact, even later on also, there was a clear-cut instruction from masters saying that anybody claiming any occult phenomenon in the higher worlds, right, should be corroborated by CWL. If he doesn't corroborate, then you should not accept that person's narration or that person's description. Only if CWL corroborates, then it is genuine. Otherwise, it is likely to be fake, likely to be deceptive. So those were the instructions given. So that means his clairvoyance he was trained. He was a trained clairvoyant, infallibly trained. Yeah, please go ahead. She wants to ask. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now you see, it was not Theosophy which trained Krishnamurti. CWL was given the responsibility of preparing Krishnamurti's body, and there were other masters involved in that, right? Now the question is that after preparing the body and the world teacher has taken over, right? Now should the world teacher give his teaching according to Theosophy? Or the world teacher is at such a level that he will give his own teaching. He doesn't have to depend on anybody. Right? He need not quote from scriptures, he need not quote from books, otherwise he won't be world teacher. Yeah, teaching is absolutely his things. I mean, he hasn't picked it up from anywhere. He has not picked it up from Theosophy also. Nothing. It has come directly from the world teacher, and therefore it has its own validity. And it is up to the listeners how far they want to investigate it and apply it to their life. And only when they apply it, they will be able to realize the truth of those teachings. Without application, it will remain mostly at intellectual level, and when it remains at intellectual level, you are likely to either agree or disagree with it and then leave it at that. Then it doesn't mean much. But when you apply it to your life and you test the truth of that, then it is no longer his teaching, then it is your life. And then nobody has to ask you to follow it. You will, on your own accord, will leave it because that is the right thing to do.
So, Rohit believes strongly in applied powers.
Yes.
He was doing research on it, and was he having any dialogues with the Theosophical Society that I know?
Who Krishnaji?
Aravinda.
Oh, Shri Aurobindo.
Maharshi Aravinda.
Okay.
Highlighting in books also.
Yeah.
And he also believes that every human soul, after his death, undergoing final world, enjoying all those karma not here, then chooses his or her life
who was,
Maybe they are education.
no, wait, who,
According to me, it is my opinion that it's so conditioned. No human being can come out of any conditioning. It's not possible. Maybe his conditioning is completely different directions.
no, you mean to say that Krishnamurti was conditioned by Theosophical Society?
He has been trained by them. Then only
No, no,
he
no.
went all those stages.
No, no, no.
Maybe
no.
it's not.
See, I'll just clarify just in few this thing. See, we have the physical body and we have the subtler bodies. These bodies have to be trained. They have to be made capable so that the corresponding consciousness can express through them. Right? And so, training of those bodies, is it the same as conditioning?
So you are trying to become something now.
No, not become something. See,
Telling you want to
wait, there is a thing called psychological becoming. I want to become better and better and better. But what is that better? That I decide. And whatever is better for me today may not be better for me tomorrow. My definition of better can change. And then as per that, I will keep on becoming, right? But then there are certain skills, there are certain things which are required in order to carry out certain functions. If you want to drive a car, you have to learn driving, right? Now, if you are learning driving, do you say that you are being conditioned to drive? Wait, sir. We have to look at the things in a very, very factual way. I mean, not just imagine, because you see, this field is so slippery. It is very easy to fall into a deception and assume something as true which actually is false, or defining or categorizing something as so and so, and therefore limiting our understanding by way of that, right? But if we are open and we are simply wanting to understand things as they are, right, then we should be completely open and not just stick to a point of view and justify it, protect it, support it, and by doing that, what are we achieving? Maybe the satisfaction of my ego, that after all, whatever I am holding as my point of view is the real thing, others' point of view. So, this is how the ego functions, how the ego creates difficulties. And we have to learn about these activities of the ego. After all, we want to understand ourselves, our life. And so, we have to be watchful about all these things. So, having said that, was Krishnamurti also conditioned? Was he conditioned by theosophy? I would say no, because there was clear-cut instruction from the world teacher himself that don't condition the mind of that child in any way. Groom his body, train it, prepare it, make it healthy, and only teach him English language. Other subjects also academically they could teach. I mean, he was taught little bit of Sanskrit, he was taught some mathematics also, and so on. But not to condition his thinking or his mind to think in any particular way. The mind has to be left alone, and the world teacher will take care of that, what is to be done with that mind. But the persons who were in charge of that boy, they were given only some specific work to do, and that they did very, very faithfully. They did not condition Krishnamurti, they did not teach him theosophy, they did not ask him to believe in this or believe in that, right? They just looked after his body, left his mind to himself, and there were also the stages where the personality of Krishnamurti was feeling depressed, was in a bad mood, or feeling frustrated, nothing much happening. And at that crucial moments, there were some instructions from the master, and then he had to meditate to come out of that and all these things. So, of course, all those things we will also consider in some of our dialogues. in this series. But the point is this, that Krishnamurti was not conditioned by anybody. And secondly, Krishnamurti himself has said later on, while discussing his teachings, that that boy was not conditioned. He was not affected by all the fame, all the things that were given to him. In fact, it just didn't matter to him at all. He was not affected by any of those things. So, what was it that kept him untouched by all this popularity, all this fame, right? His ego didn't get puffed up with all these things. I mean, you can imagine if one of us gets this kind of popularity and this kind of position, how it will affect us, how it will change our behavior, right? I mean, you can just imagine. But none of that happened. It just didn't get into his system, all that. He remained untouched by all that. And so this question was raised by Krishnaji very often in his dialogue, that what kept that boy untouched from all these things? What was that factor, right? Yeah, and in fact he returned all the property, everything. He didn't keep anything. He was not interested at all. Yeah, you wanted to ask, somebody wanted to ask something? Oh, you, yeah, so please go ahead.
I don't know, but I heard that
Yeah,
as you were saying,
Yeah.
that contact with teacher
yeah,
every day and during sleep time
yeah.
was given the knowledge. I wanted to know about this. It's only till 1945 or till the complete
Yeah. Oh, you wanted to know about the world teacher?
teacher and giving the transfer of teachings to
Yeah, yeah. That we'll be talking about in our, because we have 9 sessions. This is just the first one. So tomorrow we'll be talking about the At the Feet of the Master, that book and the teachings given in that, and how to look at those teachings in the light of later teachings of Krishnamurti. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. So then we'll be process then the teaching, right? And then finally we'll be talking about the meditation that Krishnaji talks about. Yes.
Hindi literature.
Yeah.
I found that it's a harmony of the all three, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and
Yeah.
Karma Yoga.
Yeah.
Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Krishnaji doesn't divide these things. Yeah.
It includes.
Yeah, it includes. I mean, what I'm saying is that this divisive approach is the approach of the thought, which is called as an analytical approach. So, in analytical approach, because you can't understand the whole thing at one go, you divide it, try to understand each part, then put together all those parts and try to understand the whole on that basis. Like say we do with the machine, right? We have a machine, we understand the function of each part, and then putting all that together, we understand how the machine functions. And if a particular part doesn't function, then what happens to the machine? So all that we understand. So that is the analytical approach. Now the same approach we are applying to this. But then the analytical approach is not valid to study or understand something which is living. A living quality, a living thing cannot be understood analytically. Because in analysis you have to divide it, maybe actually or maybe virtually, into various parts and understand the function of each part. Now if you try to divide a living thing into parts, right, then the part by itself may not behave in the same way as it behaves when it is part of the whole. Right? A cell in the body, as long as it is part of the body, the way it will behave. Now you remove that cell from the body, then it may not behave the same way as it was behaving when it was part of the body. And therefore, the analytical approach is not a valid approach to understand or to study a living thing. So there the approach is the approach of observation. You observe that living entity. You observe its movement. You observe how it moves, what it does, and all those things. And through observation, then you come to some kind of understanding of that living entity. And in order to observe, you don't have to divide it. You can just observe and
Even
see.
sciences form, like
Yeah.
taking the WBC count,
Yeah.
the leukocyte count, RBCs.
Yes.
So it's different while being in the body.
Yes.
Changes.
Yeah, when it is outside the body. Yes, certainly. Yeah.
Difference is
Yes. Yeah, Chennai, you want to ask something?
What I understand in this talk is when violence reaches its peak, Avtara,
What is that?
Avtara,
Avtara?
for giving directions and
Yes,
changing
yes,
the
yes,
consciousness.
yes.
This is what I understand.
Yeah.
I also read for a significant reason or reasons, Krishnamurti was selected, groomed, and used as a vehicle to bring change in the consciousness of the humanity, to give direction to the society. I myself being in the Krishnamurti's teachings, I know how valuable they are and how I have been millions of people. What is surprising to me is, before his birth there were no world wars. After his birth, no world wars. But during his birth and during his new teachings, there are two world wars. There were two world wars took place. With such a great objective, they all work. And we as wonderfully work, we all know that. But still so much violence. And a great increase. What is the reason? This new teachings also have that.
Yeah, in fact, what they say is through these two world wars, certain things were worked out so that the atmosphere in the world is conducive to the teachings. You see, as long as the war mongering goes on, nobody is going to listen to the world teacher. Right? They will be fighting, killing each other, and so on. Now, through these two world wars, so much killing happened, so much suffering came to humanity, that all their urge, all their, you can say, that thing which would make them fight, all that was worked out. Nobody wanted to have any more war. And they were willing to listen to the causes of war and willing to work to eliminate wars and so on. So in fact, around after the Second World War, most of Krishnamurti's teachings, if you go through, you will find that lots of questions were asked about the war, and he answered all of them. And after the Second World War, now you see the Third World War is not happened. The gap between the First and Second World War was very short. 1918, the First World War was over, and 1938, the Second World War started, 39. So it was just a gap of how many? About 20 years. But after Second World War, the Third World War has not happened.
But there are many wars taking place.
Yeah, many wars taking place. So what is happening is,
World War is not
wait.
just here.
Yeah,
He says about a World War II. There are approximately more than 50,000 wars,
yes,
5,000 years.
yes,
And
that's,
especially this war was between the Christians
yes,
and our
that's, yeah, that's right.
So it was a very modern,
Yeah, that's,
science
yeah,
war. In
yeah,
India, there were
yeah,
many brutal
yeah,
wars.
yeah, that's right.
There is
Yeah,
no genocides have taken place.
yes, yes,
How can you say there was no?
yes,
And each call there was some or other avatars taking place.
Yes.
How can we say there were
Yeah.
no wars?
Yeah.
There were wars.
That's right.
Now
Yeah.
also wars are taking place. Ukraine war is going on, Vietnam war is over,
Yeah. Yeah.
many
Yeah.
wars are taking
Yeah.
place.
That's right.
How can we say that? Maybe limit that.
Yeah. So, Chinnayaji, your statement that no wars had taken place before Krishnamurti is not correct. Yes. No, the crusades and the wars during the medieval period, I mean, how much killing happened at that time? Yeah.
I can name it. I'm an
Yeah.
ex-veteran.
Yeah.
I know how the wars are fought.
Yes.
How war the meaning is.
Yeah.
How can you say only
Right.
these two wars
Yes.
in the year 50? How much is taking place?
Yeah, I mean, wars have been happening last 5,000 years. Anyway, but the point I wanted to make was, yeah, no, I didn't get what we are saying. Avatar every 25 years.
2500.
Oh, 2500 years. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. Oh, do you mean to say that the function of the avatar is only to avoid wars and human beings will not change themselves, they will keep on fighting and then they will want the avatar to do something to avoid those wars? I mean, that is a very, very, I won't use that word anyway, but that is a very unreasonable assumption or unreasonable expectation. So, human beings will want to continue with what they are: violent, jealous, angry, doing all kinds of things. And whenever they are in difficulty, they will want some avatar to come and remove them from their difficulty. But when the avatar says that, well, the way you are living your life is creating the difficulty, why not change the way you live your life? Then you say, no, no, I don't want to change my way of life. That is my life and I will continue. Then the difficulties will become inevitable. Then you will say, no, no, that is, the avatar should take care of those difficulties. I think that is the most unreasonable stand. Things don't happen in that way at all. It is as if I will continue the way I want to continue and somebody else should look after me. Why should somebody else look after me? What for? And what am I going to pay in return to that person? Nothing you can get free. So that is not the correct approach. So each one has to do his part in this whole play. And the part of each one of us to change the way we live our life and thereby at least eliminate our contribution to this suffering. And then maybe we can try to do something about the other people's contribution. But we keep on contributing, then naturally you can't do anything about the other people's contribution. So anyway, I think time is also up. And
Tell us about that.
yes,
How K was connected even after going out from 1929 to Theosophical.
yes,
Implementing certain
yes.
things. And President,
Yeah,
what I understand,
yeah.
he had an influence.
Yeah, no, we'll, no, that eventually we will talk through. We have so many sessions now. So, in that, at some point of time, that will come up. So, so today we stop our session here, and tomorrow we'll be talking about at the feet of the Master.